Welcome to the 32nd episode of Season Tickets. I'm Michael.
And I'm Max.
The Fairview boys basketball team starts their season on Tuesday against Lake Ridge Academy.
And the girls basketball team started their season 0-1 in conference play, losing 38-26 to Firelands.
And in our upset special picks of last week, UCLA took down Utah for me to get it right, with Utah really falling off the radar after a hot start. I have now picked against them in 3 upset special picks of the week, getting 2 of them right. Max, what happened in yours?
Stanford beat Cal in a close game, but the Cardinal ran away with it in the end.
LSU took on Ole Miss, and we both had LSU, but they lost to the Rebels to continue a rough stretch for Les Miles. It looked like he might get fired after this game, but it looks like now, after their win against Texas A&M, that he will remain the coach, which, in my opinion, is a great thing for LSU in that program.
USC took on Oregon, and Oregon got the win to stay hot in a game I got right. The Ducks have been playing their best football of the year now and look really strong entering a bowl game, and kind of left the thing how they'd be if Vernon Adams stayed healthy the whole year.
Yeah, they could definitely be a playoff contender. What if they make that catch against Michigan State and win that game? A lot of ifs, but Northwestern took on Wisconsin, and there were multiple questionable overturned touchdowns for Wisconsin, thus helping Northwestern get the win for Max in the standings. And Northwestern finishes the regular season with 10 wins for the first time in a long time. Max, what happened in another Big Ten showdown?
This was just hard to watch between Michigan State and Ohio State. Both teams looked very poor on offense, especially Ohio State with just a god-awful play calling. Ezekiel Elliott got 11 carries in the game, 8 of them on one drive, and only 2 in the second half. So basically all his first half carries were on one drive. That's just ridiculous. And, we'll see later in the show what happened when he got more. But that probably cost Ohio State that cost them their perfect season, and most likely cost them a playoff spot, as Michigan State won on a last-second field goal with a backup quarterback, 2 of them.
Yeah, and in those drives they got 8 carries, they scored a touchdown. Coincidence? I think not. But Baylor took down Oklahoma State with a Cardale Jones-like third-string quarterback performance from Chris Johnson to end Oklahoma State's unbeaten season in a game we both got right. Max, what happened in the other Big 12 game?
Oklahoma beat TCU 30-29 on a last-second stand by the Sooners defense on a 2-point conversion, and that prevented TCU from taking the lead in a thrilling game we both got right.
Yeah, both teams are battling a lot of injuries in that game, but Navy took on Houston, and behind a great effort by the Cougars offense on third down, they advanced to the American Athletic Conference title game in a game Max got right.
Baylor took on TCU in a straight-up monsoon, tsunami-like weather conditions. And pouring rain on the grass is just bad for both teams, and it went in the overtime as neither offense could really get going, which is kind of the opposite of what people thought this game would be. But TCU got the win in double overtime, and both of us got that one wrong.
Yeah, really disappointing. I was really excited for that game, like a lot of college football fans were since the season started, but it really was just a letdown. And Notre Dame took on Stanford, and with 2 clutch late-game drives, Stanford had the last one, winning by 2 on a last-second field goal to knock Notre Dame from the playoff race and keep their slim playoffs hopes alive. This is a really good game to watch.
Yeah,
Kevin
awesome.
Hogan and Deshaun Kaiser made some great late-game drives and were really clutch. A fantastic game between 2 great teams. Max, what happened in the game?
Well, the Ohio State-Michigan game, I was kind of excited for. I thought Michigan would put up a fight. Going into the game 9-2, Jim Harbaugh, the crazy man. But it really was the opposite as Ohio State dominated. They had like 350 rushing yards, and they give Zeke Elliott like 20-something carries, and what happens? He goes off for 214 yards and like 3 touchdowns as J.T. Barrett added. I think J.T. Barrett had 3 touchdowns and 20 yards on the ground. It was just a complete domination as Ohio State's defense also completely annihilated Michigan, especially Joey Bosa.
Yeah, this was the Ohio State team we have been looking for all season, but unfortunately it's probably going to be too little too late, as they will look like they're going to miss the playoffs without some help. But Florida took on Florida State in an in-state rivalry, and Florida played like Florida has been playing recently, and it finally caught up with them as their offense couldn't do anything as they got killed by Florida State 27-2.
Kind of stinks that I have to depend on them to see Ohio State in the playoff again, because Their offense is just god-awful without Baker Mayfield. 2 points. Sweet Lord. That's horrible. And Oklahoma traveled to Stillwater and left with a Big 12 title and should have one of the 4 playoff spots locked up as they pretty much blew out Oklahoma State.
And lots of college basketball happened as some big upsets were Northern Iowa over North Carolina. George Washington also beat Virginia. Notre Dame fell to Monmouth. Boy, they have some great bench celebrations at Monmouth.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty funny to watch.
Cal losing to Richmond and Northeastern beating Miami. Max, what happened in some preseason tournaments?
And there was lots of action in preseason tournaments, like Duke winning 2 close games in the 2K Classic. Gonzaga fell to Texas A&M and Atlantis, but Syracuse ended up winning the tournament. And finally, in Maui, Kansas took down Vanderbilt in the finals. But a major story was Indiana losing 2 games to Wake Forest in UNLV. And we are now joined by diehard Hoosier, Colts, and Pacers fan and Fairview student football player Mike Pisos. Welcome to the show, P.
Thanks for having me.
So Indiana had some trouble in Maui. I mean, they lost to 2 somewhat decent teams. What were the main issues that went wrong for the team?
Defense and turnovers. If they could play defense against someone in the country and they could not turn over the ball, they could beat anyone. But when you can't defend UNLV and Wake Forest, you have no chance of winning the NCAA tournament.
And a big question for your team is, can they rebound from this rough patch in Maui? And with an upcoming game against Duke, they already got a good win against Alcorn State. They have a chance to make that rebound. What do you expect from that game against Duke?
A hard-fought game on the road. I could see Indiana pulling out a close one. This could definitely help turn the season around for the Hoosiers.
Anything else you want to say about the Hoosiers or college basketball in general?
Indiana will still win the NCAA tournament if they know how to play defense.
Okay, Mike, but for the last thing we're going to ask all of us, it's previewing the Maryland and North Carolina game. Mike, who do you think is going to win the Maryland and North Carolina game?
I think Maryland will pull off the slight upset.
And what do you think about the Hoosiers being bowl eligible for the first time since like 2007? What are you hoping from them in the bowl game, whichever one they play in? And do you have any predictions on what bowl game they'll play in?
Send them to the Rose Bowl and let them win it.
Well, that's interesting, but thanks for coming on the show, and congrats on Indiana's football team for getting you into a bowl game. The scores are now 70-59 with Michael still in the lead, and that will wrap it up for this episode of Season Tickets. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe for more Season Ticket videos.